All right, can you tell us what this rally is about?
Sure, this is a rally in Oakland, California that is standing in support and in solidarity with the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine and resisting the Israeli military's bombardment of them over the last 3 weeks. We are here to show our support for Palestinians and to oppose Israeli state policy of violence against Palestinians.
And you're also like your background is Jewish.
Yes, I'm Jewish.
Uh-huh.
I'm born and raised in the U.S., but my mom is born in Poland to Holocaust survivors and raised in Israel. My father was born and raised in Egypt. Both of them were involved to varying degrees with the Zionist movement. And I'm out here trying to represent a different politic and show that there are Jews who are opposed to Israeli policy. I'm involved with an International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network, IJAN. You can look us up at ijsn.net. We have chapters active throughout the world. We have a particularly strong chapter here in the Bay Area, and so we are here in support of today's march.
Is there a lot of different Jewish organization who works for to end the occupation too?
Yeah.
Can you name a couple of them?
Yeah, there's definitely a few, more than a few, and several that have been active here in the Bay for a while. There's IJAN, the organization I just mentioned, International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. Jewish Voice for Peace, JVP, is also quite active throughout the country, New York, Boston, here in the Bay as well. QUIT, Queers Undermining Israeli Terrorism, is another organization that has been active for years here in the Bay Area. So there's a lot of different groups who share an opposition to Israeli state policy and work in solidarity for Palestinian self-determination and liberation.
Why is that in the media? We don't hear that much about Jewish people speaking out.
Well, I think the media is interested in maintaining a simplistic binary structure of how they frame the situation in Israel and Palestine. The idea that Jews and Arabs must be and have always been in conflict is one that maintains the idea that Israel needs to exist as a Jewish state, as a supposed safe haven for Jews in the aftermath of World War II. I think to show more Jewish dissent would threaten the U.S. government's support for the state of Israel, and would challenge the extent to which the U.S. Does support the state. So that's part of the reason for sure.
All right, thanks.
Israel, USA, how many kids have you killed today? Israel, USA, how many kids did you kill today? That's what it is. USA, how many kids have you killed today?
Colonization and the effects of colonization continue to affect us. And we are here to gather in solidarity with the people of Palestine. This is a march to protest the U.S. funding of the apartheid state of Israel. This is a march to grieve, mourn, and cry out for every life lost in this genocide of Gaza. This is a march calling to end the prison industrial complex and demanding to release Palestinian political prisoners and all political prisoners. This is a march to remember the Al-Jama family, Mohammed Bakir, Khadija El-Musa, Shahida. This is a march to remember Oscar Grant, Renisha McBride, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner. These are not just names in isolation. There is a deep, deep structure of racial injustice that ties all these lives lost together. And we are here in our collective struggle.
Okay, earlier you were talking about the Palestinian and the blacks. They share their similar struggle. Can you explain that a little, please?
Sure. So my name is Liz. I'm with the Malcolm X Grassroots movement. It's an organization that upholds the self-determination of African people, African-descended people. And so I was saying that the Palestinian liberation struggle and the black liberation struggle are linked, that we have shared experiences historically, and we have shared resistance. And so in particular, our shared experiences, we can see that in the same way that Palestinians are stopped at checkpoints, in the same way that they face police brutality, in the same way that they are killed, that we saw that type of that police terror in the Jim Crow South in particular, where black people were lynched and black people were killed by the Klan, and police terrorism was enforced on them. And we also see that the connection between incarceration and Palestinians and black people. So in this country, we have more than 2 million people who are incarcerated or facing probation or parole. We have many black political prisoners. We have one out of 11 black men are incarcerated in their time. And so similarly with Palestine, 40% of Palestinian men are incarcerated before the age of 18. So we have shared histories of around mass incarceration. And then we also have shared resistance. So our people have struggled here for their freedom, for their liberation, from the early stages of slave insurrections, from the early stages of resistance to the Jim Crow South, the civil rights, Black Power movement. We've seen resistance in Palestine from the beginning. We've seen the intifadas, we've seen the people organize, we've seen people who are cultural workers and artists paint beautiful murals on the Israeli wall. I just read an article that said that outside of Bethlehem, in the 24-foot wall between Palestine and Israel, there's a mural to Trayvon Martin, who was killed here in the United States. And so our histories, our legacies, our resistance is hand in hand.
By any chance, do you know the rate of the black people getting killed by the police here?
Yes.
Who are unarmed?
So there was a report that was released by Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. You can find it on our website, mxgm.org. The report is titled Operation Ghetto Storm. Every 28 hours, thank you, sister. Every 28 hours, there is a black person that is killed by an extra vigilante force. And so every 28 hours, someone is dying. In the same year that Trayvon Martin died, there were 313 Trayvon Martins.
What about in Palestine?
In Palestine,
The rate.
I don't know the rate actually. That would be an interesting question to look up, but I know that the death toll at this point, as of today, July 27th, I believe, there have been almost 900 young Palestinians who've been killed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Enough to be living last 2 years in Palestine as a psychologist. A lot of my dear friends I've been talking with, and they've been giving me some stories recounting what's been going on there. And I would like to send a message from them. But just before that, I'd like to realize that today is the last day of the Ramadan. It's the start of the Eid. I think it's really important. This is the holiest month of Ramadan. The holiest month for Muslims is Ramadan. And the fact that Israel started this massacre and bombardment, ongoing bombardment, during the month of Ramadan speaks loudly to how they respect the people of Palestine and religions in general. It's a sad thing when people cannot go out and eat food at iftar, or they have to listen to the bombings in the morning of suhoor, because and worry about dying and being bombed because another people is so-called afraid of them attacking them. This myth of attacking, what does this mean, attacking?